Alright guys, so in section 3 of chapter 5 we're dealing with multiplying probabilities. We're talking about independent events, we're talking about more than one thing happening. And so for example in here we have obtaining 3 tails in a row. So that means I get a tail and a tail and a tail. And so by saying and in probability that means multiplication. So in the previous section I could have this or this. So that's an adding scenario and subtracting any overlap if needed. But with looking at more than one event, I'm attaining 3 tails in a row. That's I need a tails and a tails and a tails. So that means I am multiplying these probabilities. And so on this particular problem, obtaining 3 tails in a row, probability of a tail is a half. Another tail is a half, and another tail is a half. And so I'm just going to be multiplying 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2, or I could be raising it to the 3rd power. And so let's see if I can get my calculator up and just showing that, again, it is just something like this. You multiply those independent events by each other. So I would just say 1 divided by 2 raised to the 3rd power. And I'm giving my decimal places that I would need. Another one that I want to look at is number 6. Kind of get you going on it. So on number 6, we're dealing with a parallel structure of identical components. The system can succeed if at least one of the components succeeds. So kind of like the Christmas light scenario. But as long as one of them work, we're good. Assume the components fail independently of each other and that each component has a 25% probability of failure. Would it be unusual for one component to fail? Well, it happens 25% of the time. We talked about in the last section, I believe, what unusual meant, and it's 5% or less. So this one has a 25% chance of happening. When would it become unusual? If I do if it was 2 components failing back to back. So I could say squared. That's not unusual either. If I did 3 components failing in a row, that would be cubed. That's when it becomes unusual. So again, this is 3 failures back to back to back. And that gets me less than 5%. So again, this idea of multiplying our probabilities, because it's fail and fail and fail. It's more than one thing that you're picking.